This video is about yoko-sankaku-jime, side triangle chokes, and yoko-sankaku-gatame. We're going to be looking at some common defenses to sankaku and different options for dealing with them. This first clip is of Gabriella Willems of Belgium. I'm actually going to be showing a lot of her sankaku defense in this video. So I wanted to start this video by showing her sankaku offense, which is very impressive indeed. What's impressive here is that she seems to think that she's knocked the opponent unconscious because she's not moving, but the opponent does actually tap out. So even though Willems gave up using her hands as a control, her legs were so powerful in choking that it put the Korean judoka in enough danger to force a tap. Here is Gabriella Willems on the defense against a judoka from Japan. This is from the World Juniors. It's the bronze medal match. So she likes to use this cross block, blocking with her hands in front of her face. It helps stop the opponents, lock their knee and foot together, and it also helps block against the turn. Here is another example with a much better camera angle of her cross block defense. So she's crossing her arms in front of her face, and she's able to keep her opponents from connecting their knee and foot together. In this instance, the opponent does lock the sankaku, but because Willems has both arms inside the sankaku, the opponent has to unlock. Still, the opponent is unable to connect her knee and foot, and mate is called. In the next sequence, we're going to see Willems start off using the same defense, but this time her opponent's going to get through that defense, and we'll see the next layer of Willems' sankaku defense. So once again, using this cross block, holding her hands and pushing against the leg, making it difficult for the opponent to lock their foot with their knee. But this opponent is going to be able to achieve a turn. Once she begins to turn her opponent, and especially as she's now pulling on that arm, Willems is forced into pushing her opponent's legs down into a half guard situation. And she's trapped her opponent's legs in half guard. Her opponent has freed the legs. Willems now has to recover by going back to the legs again, hooking them into a half guard. This time she's only trapped one leg. It's the bottom leg. This is typically the leg that's easiest to escape, and we see her opponent escape again. But Willems once again is able to trap the top leg. The top leg is the most difficult to escape in this type of situation. So in a moment we'll look at some options judokas have when they're caught in this situation and they want to get to ippon. The judoka in white is Kelita Zupancic of Canada. We're going to have a look at how she deals with this situation. Little hair pull there by Zupancic. I hope that wasn't intentional. So she gets the sankaku turnover. Her opponent traps her in half guard. Zupancic, rather than continuing to persist with the yoko-sankaku-jime, she switches to a half guard pass. She comes up, pummels the knee free, and gets to ude-garami. And there is surprisingly little effort by her opponent to escape this osai komi. Zupancic even has the spirit to encourage her supporters. This was in front of a home crowd. to give her a bit of a cheer as she locked in this victory. Now we'll see another option that Kelita Zupancic has from this Sankaku turnover when she's caught in half guard. So the Chinese judoka seems to be keen to force Zupancic off the tatami here, but Zupancic isn't having it. The Chinese judoka with a drop throw. Now Zupancic seems to force herself into half guard here during this turn, where she steps over the leg. Now this time, rather than go for the guard pass, she's going for this armbar. But if the armbar doesn't succeed, she can always go back to the guard pass. You see her pummel her leg free, and this time the opponent puts in a much more spirited defense of Osai Komi than we saw in the last match. So this is a match in China. She was keen to go down with a fight. If you had to choose which leg to have trapped in half guard when you're attempting yoko-sankaku-jime, always choose the bottom leg. It's much easier to escape. The leg that is lower when you're in the yoko-sankaku-jime position. Let's see just how easy it is for Lien Chen-Ling of Taiwan to free her bottom leg. After she frees the leg, she ends up in a fairly loose Osai Komi position, but as her opponent scrambles, she's able to lock in a tight yoko-sankaku-jime for a solid pin win. This match was against Judoka, the 2014 world champion. Chen is from Taiwan, but she's lived in Japan for a long time and attended the same university as Hamada Shuri. And her and Hamada are apparently great friends. I think she's Hamada's best friend on the judo tour, and they like to drink coffee together before matches. Mami Umeki sometimes uses the lower leg as a way of stopping getting trapped in half guard. Here we'll see how her lower leg hooks over her opponent's leg, and it stops her opponent closing the half guard, and it helps her transition to a pin. In the next sequence, we'll see Mami Umeki having to deal with an opponent that clears this lower leg using her hands. In this one, Mami Umeki wins inside position with her lead hand against Clara Apotica. And Clara Apotica is going to start to look for an opportunity to get out of Tachiwaza without being thrown. So this is my favorite of the clips, and you'll see why if you are familiar with my channel. So we have a guard pull. She throws her opponent's legs to the side, now looking for the Sankaku turnover. Bottom leg is used, but the opponent clears the bottom leg and is able to trap her in half guard. Now Mami Umeki is going to adjust by looking to get an ude-garami. So she has her left hand underneath her opponent's arm. She's holding her own judo gi while she pulls away with her right hand at her opponent's fingers, grabbing the end of the lever. Of course, you cannot grab just one individual finger as it's a small joint attack. You can just pull on the fingers. As she establishes the ude-garami, her opponent comes on top. She gets a sumi-gaishi and is able to submit her while inside the half guard. Even though she was attempting to pass the half guard, she didn't need to. Here's Kelita Zupancic again. This time we're going to see her come up after her opponent looks to get a half guard defense in, and she re-attacks. One thing to notice about this one is that when she re-attacks the second sankaku turnover, she has a better grip of her opponent's left sleeve. She also back heels, avoiding her opponent's attempt to put her in half guard. Let's look at another Mami Umeki example that combines many of the tactics we've seen in the last few clips. So first, she achieves a sankaku turnover, and at first it looks like she's going to achieve this turnover and get yoko-sankaku-jime directly, but her opponent does a good job at defending. She forces her legs back and traps them in half guard. Umeki is able to escape the legs, but her opponent continues to be able to trap that top leg in half guard. Now notice what Umeki does here. She uses the belt to tie up the left arm of her opponent. It's going to be very difficult for her opponent to trap the leg again without this arm control. Now Umeki slowly beginning to work her leg free. Much credit to the referee here for not calling mate in this one. So this time she achieves the turnover. Her opponent tries to attempt to control the leg, push it into half guard once more, but Umeki is able to stop her by controlling her right leg with her free hand and then pinning her with ude-garami. If you play that clip one more time, you'll see her control her opponent's leg with her right hand. She was able to do that because she had that left arm tied up so securely. This is Kelita Zupancic, and I just want to show you an option Kelita Zupancic has when going for the armbar. So Kelita Zupancic here, looks like she's going for a juji-gatame, but notice how she's trying to position her right leg underneath her opponent's right armpit. This enables her to slide her left leg underneath her opponent's body and complete a yoko-sankaku-jime rather than going for the juji-gatame. So I wanted to show you this option before we have a look at Kelita Zupancic versus Gabriella Willems. Finally, we have Kelita Zupancic, very good at attacking from the yoko-sankaku-jime position. She has a variety of options to win from there. Against Gabriella Willems, very good at defending against yoko-sankaku-jime. Let's see what happens. Willems comes in for an ochi. She immediately quad pods up. Zupancic is able to bring her down to the mat. As she looks to establish yoko-sankaku, Willems forces Zupancic into half guard. Zupancic chooses the armbar option. Willems immediately releases Zupancic from the half guard to defend this armbar. Willems is able to come up onto one knee and one leg in defense of the juji-gatame, and the referee calls mate. So I think one option that was still on the table for Zupancic would have been to switch back to the yoko-sankaku-jime just as Willems was beginning to defend that armbar. But hopefully we'll see them in action again. So this match continued. Willems made an attempt at a juji-gatame. Zupancic very good in her defense. And then it finished up with Willems winning with a sumigaishi to score waza-ari. late in the match. So hopefully we will see more yoko-sankaku-jime attacks and defense from Willems in the future. She suffered a bad knee injury early this year, so missed the Worlds and Olympics. Subscribe for more non-stop newaza. There will be more sankaku related videos, more ude-garami related videos in the future. There'll be more Gabriella Willems, more Kelita Zupancic, Mami Umeki,